let's get started. So you are hopefully here to hear about product thinking, moving from a project mindset into a product mindset. Now, when I run my webinars, I like to do them just slightly different. I like to actually open up the conversation throughout the webinar. So I have unmuted everybody that is on this call. If you have a question, please just ask the question. Interrupt me when we have a stopping point. Let's have a conversation. I'd rather not have this be lecture format. I'd rather have it be conversation. Give me your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives, and we'll have a good time here. Hopefully we can all learn from each other. Of course, there is the group chat that you can always type a message in if you'd like to provide a message or ask a question that way. And we will be providing a copy of this webinar on our website at webagesolutions.com. After, in the next several days, we'll be posting up there. So if there's something here that interests you, you can always rewatch the webinar there. And as a note, I will be putting a contact information at the end of the webinar. So if you'd like to contact us about this kind of offering or would like a PDF version of this webinar, I will be happy to give you a PDF version of my slides. You just have to call Carlene at the end or send her an email and she'll be happy to send it to you. So my name is Nick Kramer. I am an agile trainer and coach here at WebAge Solutions. I have been teaching and training and coaching agile and related topics for about 15 years. I started off as a Scrum Master, worked my way up. I've been a product owner and a product manager and some various projects, mostly on startup companies, is where I actually learned about this whole concept of making the shift from project into product mindset. So that's a little bit about me. All right, I'm going to turn off my camera so that we can not focus on me. All right, so let's get started. So let's talk about some history about how all of this kind of fits together. So as we all know, Lean was started in about 1948 at Toyota production, right? TPS invented Lean. Tokiyama and a bunch of people there decided they needed to find a better way to build physical products. Toyota, of course, was known for quality, but they really wanted to push the envelope. They wanted to make quality better. They really wanted to remove waste. So Toyota got really good at lean and they invented TPS and lean manufacturing and those kinds of systems. Over time, companies like Motorola took those systems and they really perfected them and they moved them into Six Sigma. GE, of course, was famous for Six Sigma and reducing all waste and eliminating as much of that as they could to build um, perfection as much as possible. Then in the early 90s, Dr. Sutherland and a group of people with the help of lean manufacturing and some scientific information that they had from doing scientific research, invented the concept of Scrum. And hopefully all of the people on this call have some baseline of what Scrum is. We'll be talking a little bit about Scrum, but that's not really what this webinar is about. But then Scrum, of course, led into Agile at the Agile Manifesto signing in 2001. Of course, then after that, Kanban became a thing. Although Kanban's been around a long time, it became a formalized framework in 2004. And then, of course, we've been evaluating and building on ever since. DevOps emerged in the early 2000s. And then, of course, scaling platforms like Scrum at Scale and Safe emerged after that. And then in 2018, some new kind of concepts have started to emerge. And I'm going to be specifically talking about Mobius loop and design thinking and how it applies to products. Okay, but what do all of these things really have in common? Right, all of these things here from the timeline from lean manufacturing all the way up through the scaled environments, Mobius loop, and design thinking. What do they really all have in common? And the key to all these is that they are all empirical processes. They're all inspection and adaptation process, meant to be learning as we go, and embracing change, expecting that change, making that change, finding ways to inspect and adapt, finding ways to reflect and make our processes and behavior better for our customers. Right? As you can see here, there's actually an Agile manifesto built right into the empirical process. Okay. Scrum is, of course, a great example of an empirical process where we take something from idea generation, we build a product backlog, we break that product backlog into release backlogs or product increment backlogs or PI plans, however you want to think about them. Then we take those PI plans and we build those into Scrum or Sprint uh, backlogs. And then, of course, we start to sprint through the entire process and until we get to a final increment where we can show that, get some feedback from our customers, take that feedback and then reincorporate it back into the product backlog. And then the process starts over in an iterative, empirical process where we're taking data to learn as we go. And what do all of these processes have in common, from lean to agile to scrum to even Kanban, right? And what they are really all good at is they are really good at problem solving, right? They're really good at sitting down and taking a bite-sized solution of a problem, putting a solution in place for that problem, and then deciding, is this the right path or not, or should we uh, pivot or persevere? As a matter of fact, the whole Agile Manifesto is built around this particular concept of inspection and adaptation, empiricalism, responding to change, making sure that everything that we're building meets our customers' needs. Okay? We built a whole project management framework around problem solving. Okay, but the problem has come up in the last 10 years or so is, how do we know that we're solving the right problem, right? We become, we become so good at problem solving and looking at problems and finding good solutions, and product owners and team members and scrum masters all work really well of finding problems and solving them. But the real key is, are we solving the right problem? And the answer turns out to be sometimes no, oftentimes no. We take a miscalculated uh, approach to problem solving because we need to first understand out what the problems are. Right? We get a feedback from our customers. They tell us we have a problem. We're all such great problem solvers. We jump on that. We try to solve the problem. And oftentimes we're not spending enough times looking at what the problem really is and finding out who our customers are and staying one step ahead of them. As a matter of fact, I just received yesterday in the mail the latest Harvard Business Review. And in this Harvard Business Review, they have a great article called "Did You Know What Your Customers Want Even Before They Do?" This is a great article if you haven't picked up the latest Harvard Business Review. I believe you can actually read this article online. And I can actually even drop the link to the article. It's inside of the group chat. There you go. And in this article, they uh, approach looking for problems, looking at the way our customers view us in four ways. You can see here, there's a little graph here. They talk about telescoping, kaleidoscope, microscope, and panorama. We're not going to really talk about the article. I just found it very interesting that right as I'm about to present this webinar to all of you, Harvard Business Review also published a similar article that's going to talk, and it really does enhance what I'm saying here. So if you're interested in more additional information, of course, you can reach out to that article. It turns out that we need to take our Agile manifesto and we need to put a little bit of steroids on it. And there's a group community out there that's actually working on creating a product values mindset where we go from shifting from looking at our individual problems so much to actually looking at understanding our customers and becoming more outcome oriented and thinking about our customers and really empathizing with our users. And so there's a whole new product values and product principles that are coming out that are not meant to replace the Agile manifesto and values, but rather to enhance them. to shift us from more of this project mindset, this problem solving mindset, into actually identifying problems sooner and being more proactive on solving problems rather than reactive. So here are the new 12 principles that you're welcome to get if you uh, send us an email. We're happy to send you the deck. Now, all of this moving from a project mindset to a product mindset really does require a mindset shift. And that mindset shift means that we have to stop focusing less on outputs, right? The individual solutions, the individual widgets that we create, the lines of code, the process that we put out, right? These are all outputs of what we build. Now, outputs are great, and we still need to provide outputs, but we need to actually make a shift and start thinking more about what are the outcomes that we would like to achieve before we actually start doing inputs or outputs. A lot of times we just instantly try to solve problems. We think about outputs. Let's create this. Let's put this on the screen. Let's create a report that does that, right? All of those things. And we don't really step back to say, well, what is the outcome that we're really trying to achieve? Are we trying to, help our customers? Are we trying to engage with business strategies? Or a little bit of both, hopefully. Right. So let's take a step back and think about outcomes versus outcomes. Now, the way I like to think about it is this great little picture here. The young man takes himself to a robotics clinic, a contest, and he wins first prize, right? His output of the contest is actually his robot, but that was never his desired outcome, was to build a robot. His desired outcome was to win the contest, right? So he is focusing on building the best output possible in order to achieve the outcome that he has set out to do, right? And we need to step back a lot of times and start thinking about as organization, what are the outcomes we're trying to achieve? What are the OKRs that we're trying to build, and what are we trying to measure to get there? And this is kind of the new mind shift that we need to make in order to make that happen, right? Um, One of the key things that we need to start thinking about when we think about outcomes versus output is this effect called the watermelon effect. And what the watermelon effect says is that our outputs don't always meet our outcomes, right? They don't always make the customer happy. And I'm sure you could all give lots of examples of times when you build something, sent it out, put it to production, released it into the wild, and your customers are still not happy with the solution. And you're like, well, wait, I thought we built this great thing. We thought you'd really love it. And you release it, and the customers go, no, that's not what we really wanted. That's not really solving our problems. That's not it. So you're like, well, what are we going to do? That's called the watermelon effect, right? So what we really want to try to do is to make a shift to understanding what are the outcomes that will make our customers happy. What are the outcomes that will actually solve real problems for our customers? Okay. Oftentimes, when I'm teaching about outcomes versus output, I use this exercise. And what I do is I give my class, I break them up into two groups, and I give them each a requirement to build to draw a picture. Okay. And I like to use the mural tools or Miro or something like that. So it's digital and virtual in it, and it makes it a little bit challenging. So this is the kind of the first requirement that I give to my group one. And I'll ask them to draw a beautiful summer meadow that can be enjoyed by a family. And then I give them a whole list of these requirements that I need to have in my meadow. Now take a look at these requirements real quick and notice what they say, some of them. We're not going to read them just yet, but just kind of take a quick look here and you'll see that there's a lot of interesting requirements here on a meadow for the family to enjoy. So this is the requirements that I give to team one. Team two gets these requirements. Very simple. Draw a beautiful summer meadow that can be enjoyed by a family. Okay? And then I usually give the teams about 8 minutes to draw pictures. Group one, who has these requirements, generally draw pictures that look like this. They're kind of a mess. They're all over the place. Sometimes they're not even focused on a meadow. So like this one here in the upper right is there's not even a meadow there. right? This one has cows in the sky. This one has a big bird for some reason, right? This one in the upper left, I don't even know what that is, right? And most of the time, group one uses the entire time to solve the problem. Okay. Team two, on the other hand, draws pictures that look like this, or find pictures that look like this, right? They're very simple. They're very beautiful. You could see you would probably even enjoy going to some of these beautiful meadows. Right? Here, there's a lot of activities to do. And and this group generally just takes just a few minutes to draw these pictures. After the class, we talk about the differences between the two different kinds of pictures and the challenges that groups had. So I start with group one usually, and I'll say, well, what challenges did you have? And the responses I get are, well, there were so many requirements that we couldn't get them all in. We had so much time, right? We were so focused on trying to find flowers using Mural that we couldn't, it took a lot of time. And some of these requirements were really weird. Like it was hard to find 10 blue flowers with 5 petals. And so this team one gets very focused on the outputs that asking them to generate, that they actually forget to step back and say, well, what is the outcome here we're trying to achieve? And in both of these, I give the second group just the outcome, right? And in the first one, I give the team the outcome plus a bunch of outputs. And they don't even bother to question the outputs. They just blindly start building them. I never even really gave them a chance to think about the outcome. They were so busy, they were under a time crunch that they were not even thinking about the outcome I gave them. They were only thinking about the outputs that the product owner had requested. They didn't even stop to think, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, well, maybe cows, right? All these cows here, maybe that's not a good idea in a meadow if I am going to enjoy it with a family, right? Maybe not. If you've been in a meadow before that have cows, I'm not sure I'm going to want to be spreading my blanket out where the cows have been uh, doing their business, right? But team one has plenty of time to think about their outcomes. And notice, rarely any of these teams put cows. Rarely do they get hung up in the kind of flowers we're going to put because they're busy thinking about the outcome. Okay, they are moving, starting with problem finding, understanding what the problem is first before they move into problem solving. Okay? A real life example of how this worked for me one time is I worked on a project that I took over as a product owner, and we were building this great mobile app as a startup. And one of the things that I was responsible for building that was handed off to me was to build these filters. I thought, well, this is great. We're going to build 12 filters in our application so our clients could search and really hone down what they were looking for across our application. And this totally made sense to me. And the product owner said, yeah, this is what we need to do. And then that product owner went off to do something else and I took over. So I worked with the team. We completed all of these outputs, which were the stories, right? All of the requirements. I just pretty much did what the other product owner had done, had laid out. We get them all done. Takes us about 3 or 4 months to develop all these great filters, and we release them out into the world, and we start showing them to our customers, and then we start watching the clicks on how many people are using the filters. Time goes by, no clicks. Nobody's using the filters, or they might use them once and then they don't use them again, and they go um, back to what they were doing before. So I went back to the product owner that was there before and I said, now tell me, why did we want to build all these filters? What was the feedback that we were getting from the customers? What were they telling us the problem was that we were trying to solve? And the old product owner said, oh, I never really talked to the customers about their problems or what they wanted. I've just been in this industry so long that I knew what they wanted. So I knew that they would need these filters. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of them. And I just built them. Well, it turns out we stepped back and we went back and actually talked to the customers. It turned out they didn't need filters at all. That wasn't something that was even on their radar. It didn't help them at all. It didn't solve problems at all. Really, all they needed was a sorting feature. so that we could sort in maybe two different ways, one by date and one by a couple other filters to kind of sort the data. They didn't need necessarily filtered, they needed sorted. We built sort functionality in little under one sprint, released it into the wild for our customers to use, and we were an instant success only because we had stepped back and we had tried to figure out what the problem was that our customers really and truly had with our application. We weren't making assumptions. We weren't focused on the widgets that were coming out of the requirements from before. We took a more inspection and adaptation process. We took more of a product mindset, more of a mindset of how can we decide and figure out what the outcomes are that our customers are really trying to achieve. What opportunities can we help provide for them to be successful? Right? So this is the product mindset. Instead of focusing so much on resources and processes and outputs, right, we start to think about outcomes first. What is the outcome? What is the opportunity? What are our customers telling us? Okay. And when you put all of these things together, right, really it's about taking design thinking, which and merging it with lean and agile to create a whole new mindset, a whole product mindset driven on knowing your customers well and understanding what they need and anticipating what they need based on the data that our customers provide, the feedback that our customers provide for us. Which brings us to the topic of this webinar, moving from a project mindset to a product mindset. Now, um, this is a major shift in our lean thinking, right? It's taking next lean thinking to the next level and to stop thinking about or focusing quite so much on those outputs we talked about those individual deliverables, and actually starting to think more about outcomes. Projects generally are something that are very um, um, are very start and stop. We have a list of deliverables that we're trying to deliver, and we are focused on delivering those deliverables only. Oftentimes, we don't even allow our teams, even our Scrum teams, to talk to the customers. Oftentimes, we don't even allow our product owners to talk to the customers. This is a list of requirements that came from somewhere into the business, and we just have to get them done. Here's the amount of time you have, here's the budget you have, and even if you're using an agile mindset or a Scrum mindset, we still have a difficulty solving the correct problems. Where we want to get to is to become more of an outcome focused or product mindset, thinking about our products as living, breathing things that are constantly changing and adapting and helping our customers and our organizations towards success. Okay? It's about finding that mindset of focusing on our customer. Now, what we're trying to do is to find the intersection of what is desirable for our customers, the people that use our products or services, what is viable for the business, what is our business strategy, and what is technologically feasible out there, or what technology can we deploy. And this is the goal that we're trying to find from a product mindset. And we as organizations have been really good about the viability of the business and the technological feasibility of the organization, but we rarely have stepped back and really gotten to know our customers first and finding the intersection of where these things align together. So in order to make this happen, we have to adopt some new principles. We have to ask why before we build the what, right? We have to do a little bit of research. We have to do some data. We have to start understanding our customers. Number two, we have to derive goals from actual user problems and the broader impact it's going to have on the organization. Right? Then we need to frame the stories by starting with the problems. Frame our new outputs that we're going to generate based on the problems or opportunities that we have found in steps 1 and 2. We have to start by understanding the problem first, then we can come up with a solution. and then we work backwards from goals, right? We should work backwards from the goals, and not only the goals of our organization, but the goals of our customers. Then we can create teams to focus on solving those problems, right? Our teams are great at solving problems. The real problem is we're not giving them the real problem to solve. In order to do this, it's going to take a whole new set of tools and skills. Now, a lot of these things you might have heard before, but there's a whole list of new tools that we might need to consider. Some of them are design thinking tools. Yeah. Then we might want to think about experimentation tools such as lean startup. Then we would use agile tools. And then we, of course, would use DevOps tools to continually deploy these and to build infrastructure and environments, technological approaches that help support the other tools to provide the feedback we are desperately needing to get from our customers. Now, the design process looks like this design thinking process. We start with empathizing. Who is our customers, right? And there are lots of ways that we can empathize with our customers. We can survey them. We can interview them. We can go watch and see what they're doing. We can start to collect data on what they're doing, watching how they're using our screens and our applications, watching them use our processes and tools. Right? Then we can start to, with the customer's help, define what the problems really are, understanding the personas of the people with the problems, and really deep dive into the challenges they're having. Only then, after we really understand our customer and their problems, do we start to think of ideas or solutions to those problems. And then we start to prototype and test those solutions out in an empirical manner. We start small, usually low fidelity. Right? We start testing with our customers if we're on the right track. We move forward and add more level of complex tests until we're certain we have the right solutions. Okay? So this design thinking process, you might be saying, well, we don't do web applications and my teams don't do design on screens. That's somebody else's problem. And design thinking is not really just what it looks and feels like, it's how it works. And everything we do for our customers is revolves around how it works. Granted, how it looks and feels is important also, but it's all built on this base of how it works. Design thinking is designed to answer really four questions. What is, what's working today, what's not working today, what are our opportunities? What if we tried this instead? What are some possible solutions? What's going to wow our customers? How are we going to achieve success for them? And then lastly, what works, right? Even though it might wow, doesn't mean it actually is going to work in the real world. It may not actually solve problems. It may not actually satisfy business needs. So these are the four questions that we're trying to start answering as we move into a product thinking mindset. Okay. There are a list of tools here or kinds of things that you can do at each step along the way to validate the process. And I'm sure you've seen many of these before, journey mapping, brainstorming, assumption testing, prototyping, right? All of these things are tools that we can use and that we like to teach our organizations how to implement design thinking. Now, the expectation is that this is going to be a very linear process, right? We do some interviews, we find out what our customers' problems are, we come up with a solution, we launch that solution, yay, we're good to go. But in reality, it doesn't always work that way, and it rarely works that way. Oftentimes, it's one step forward, two steps back, or one step forward, two steps to the side, right? We have to expect that this process is not going to be as linear as we would like it to be. Right? It's going to be an inspection adaptation process, but it is worth it in the end. Now, the tool that we really like to teach when we're teaching about product thinking is something called this Mobius loop. This is what's called the Mobius navigator. And this navigator here chart talks about the process steps that we use on how to identify the next products that we should build or enhancements. So we start with why. Why are we building this? What are the goals? Then we decide who are we building it for? both internal and external customers, both internal and external outcomes. And then we really think about defining what those outcomes are. What is the objective we're trying to meet? How are we going to measure that? How are we going to build OKRs that we can really make sure that we're on the right path to solving problems so that when those measurements start to kick in and we start to see them, we can say, oh, we need to pivot, or we need to persevere, or we're on the right track, we're on the wrong track. So once we really understand our outcomes and how we're going to measure them, then we start to generate ideas on how we're going to solve problems. We decide what ones are the best ones, and we refine those ideas a little further, right? And then we move into the Mobius loop on this side, in the green side, where we learn to how to deliver, how we're going to build that measurement that we were looking for earlier in, and then how are we going to learn so we can decide how we're going to adapt. Now, the reason we really like this tool is because it comes with a whole list of different activities, different tools that you can take and use at different times. And you can see here, I listed just a few. They're, of course, really hard to read here, but the blue section here has a list of different tools. I listed here only 6, but there are about 16 different tools that we teach product thinkers on how to use. There's about 16 in the blue section that you can mix and match to solve problems there. There are again 16 in the orange section, and there's 16 or so in the green section. It really gives teams, product owners, product managers a whole list of tools to say, how are we going to back up, really think and really figure out what problems are, then and only then can we then figure out how we're going to solve those problems. That's the orange section. And then the green section is how are we going to build, prototype, and test those problems to define whether we're on the right track. The great thing about this Mobius tool navigator is that this is a great thing that you can do online very easily in virtual whiteboards, virtual rooms, Zoom, these kinds of things. And we can create lasting artifacts that everybody can go back to in a virtual environment to see why we're doing what we're doing, what we're expecting, to build that visibility and transparency that we've come to expect from Agile and Scrum. So the Mobius Navigator is a great tool to teach yourself how to do product thinking. Then, once you've kind of worked through this cycle a few times and you start to decide what are the new outputs we need to build in order to build success, we then teach our clients how to build a proper roadmap, a roadmap that starts with a vision at the top, works down, breaking items based on the real problems our organization has, by bringing those problems to the team and building epics and themes and stories and roadmaps to build a roadmap that the organization can then use to implement the solutions to the problems at the right time. What makes sense for an organization based on their strategic and tactical goals. So we take the two items and merge them together. The tools to figure out what the solutions are that we should be working on, and then we teach how to build the roadmaps based on those solutions that we believe, based on an empirical process, based on testing and validation, based on real data and real science that we hope we know now that our customers will love to use in the end. We'll really solve their problems and take our companies to the next level. Now, many organizations over the years have been using design thinking in different various shapes and forms. You can see here, there's a list of several organizations for a long time that have been using this kind of design product thinking mindset, and they generally average about 219% more uh, in stock value than companies that don't. And you can see some companies here that I'm sure you all use every single day, right? There's Apple, Coca-Cola, Starbucks is on here, Procter and Gamble, who I would say 1 out of 5 products you have underneath your sink is a Procter and Gamble product, right? 1 out of 5 products you probably have in your bathroom is a Procter and Gamble product. They are really good at helping their teams understand their customers and understanding what they can deliver next, anticipating needs, so that they can build the products that and solutions that their customers will really want to use. There are some statistics here that talk about, why you should do design thinking, um, why it's beneficial, why it's important, right? And it does feel sometimes when you're moving towards this product thinking mindset, it does feel like you're taking a step back and some organizations say to me, yeah, but we don't have the time to go back and talk to our customers, and we don't have the time to run tests, and we don't have all of whatever excuse you want to use. We don't have the the resources to go back and look. But in reality, we spend so much time and effort building the wrong thing that we actually cannot afford not to take this product thinking mindset, so to identify that we are building the right thing. Let's go back to my example that I was talking about in the platform that I was building. We wasted 3 months of development time with a team of about 8 people developing um, those filters. Right? So not only did we waste 3 months worth of work, focusing completely on this one particular solution, right? We wasted, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars in resources of the organization, um, not only from the time and costs of the team members alone, but then also the cost of the technology that we built, all of that we ended up just scrapping completely. We literally scrapped it, stripped it out of the system, and then rebuilt something that took less than 2 weeks that actually satisfied the customer, right? So product thinking is one of those things that when done correctly can save the organization a lot of time and money, and hopefully even a misstep or two with our customers. So this is why I'm hoping that you're interested in product thinking, about shifting your mindset from a project mindset in more of a product mindset, from shifting more of an output related mindset into more of an outcome objective driven mindset. And the best way that I can recommend to do that is by thinking about the Mobius loop and building roadmaps then off of the empirical data that you get from those particular processes. All right, there is my little spiel on why you should move from a project to a product mindset. I would definitely love to open it up to questions. I believe that the muting is off. If you'd like to ask a question, please throw it out there or drop it in the chat, and I will be happy to answer it. I'll give everybody just a few moments here to drop anything into the chat or ask a question. If you'd like a copy of this deck or like to hear more about project versus product thinking, you can always email Caroline Liu at WebAge Solutions here. That's on the email, and she'll be happy to set up a call. If you're interested in a private webinar about this topic or a similar topic, or would like to have a 1-hour meet and greet with me or one of our other product experts to discuss these types of topics, we're happy to do that as well. We love to talk about product thinking. We love to talk about agile and Scrum. All right. I appreciate all of your time today. I hope to hear from you all soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Hey, I'm not sure if you're still on. I just wanted to ask a quick question. I should have come on here earlier. I
Yeah.
am at Liberty Mutual, and I have a group of product owners that's going to be taking, I believe, the 2-day product thinking class. So is this kind of a small snippet of what we can expect to see in that 2-day class?
Um, Yes, and actually, since you said that, this webinar is built off of that class. So
Okay.
that is we've I teach that class publicly at Liberty and in other organizations. So yes, this is exactly what you learn about in that class.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I know somebody
And
who had
then
taken
some.
the class and I recognized some of the things. So I thought, okay, I think this aligns with what we're going to be doing. Okay, great. I just wanted to
Yeah, and
verify.
we've actually,
We're really
yep,
excited.
and that class is actually, it's customized for your organization completely, which we do like to do. If anybody else is on the call, we customize. Yep, but this is it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Hi, I have a question. Can you tell me if the Mobius loop, is that a common tool that people use?
It is very common in Europe, and it's just now making its way into the United States. I am one of the few coaches in the United States that teach the Mobius loop. You can actually go out there and look at it at mobiusloop.com. Um, I like this tool. I've been teaching this particular format for years and years and years, but what I really like about the way this program works is you get those great activities, those great things that kind of help people walk through each step. It's just a great, they've done a really good job of packaging it. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. There's a new book coming out about Mobius Loop here in the near future. I was just talking to the author the other day. She and I work very closely together here in the United States. It's a great program. All right then. Thank you, everybody. We'll sign off now. Have a great afternoon.